if you're a CEO or executive and you're looking for some guidance when it comes to how do I use AI to be effective, but also have content that still sounds like me, I just did a quick 10-minute video on how to create content using the 30-40-30 concept that I've used in my personal brand, in my political clients, and my corporate clients, and really everything I do marketing related. Go ahead and check out this video. I think right now, as far as the market, we are in a place where people always want to talk about utilizing AI for everything, and they have all these automations, and they always want to talk about, oh, well, if I just click one button, I can get content out online. But what I've learned over the last couple of years, and I've been using AI since 2021, is that if you don't add your own personal touch, you don't add your own knowledge and expertise to the situation, what'll happen is your content will sound like everybody else's out there. And so what I wanted to do today is really show you what I do for my clients, what I do for myself as far as the AI content creation process. That way you can figure out how you differentiate yourself and what you need to do. That way you can create content at scale, both efficiently and cost effectively, but ultimately so you can also be able to create content that is easy to create while utilizing AI and making content that really sounds like you and that really separates you from other people. So as we get started with this, I'm really just going to show how the 30-40-30 concept works and really break it down and then talk about how you can benefit from that. So the first part of the 30-40-30 concept, and I have the slides here, is the content ideation phase. Now, when it comes to creating content ideas, in the past, you would have to write down a list of what you thought your ideal client or your colleague's pain points were. You would have to make the assumption, and then from there, you could create content based off of those things. But as we know that everybody has different thoughts as to what their pain points are, what their problems are. And so the great thing with AI is now you can literally give AI what you're trying to do. So if it's generate leads, generate thought leadership, to write books, to consult, to be on boards, whatever it is, you can give it your goals, you can give it who you need to reach. So whether that's homeowners for a business that you run, or whether that's executives that you want to partner with, or if it's venture capitalists, if you're trying to raise money, and then you give it what you're looking for. And for that, from that point, what AI will give you is great content topics that you can talk about, but not just based off of what you think is valuable, but based on what the data is saying. Because at the end of the day, you can have the wherewithal and understanding of what good content is and what the pain points are, but AI is going to give you the most up-to-date information possible. So I tell people, when it comes to content ideas and when it comes to content ideation and figuring out what's going to work best, this is the part of the process that you really need to use AI for. That way you don't waste any time, because before it would take hours to generate ideas. Now with a click of a button, you can have a bunch of ideas in just seconds. I was somebody who, when it came to creating short form content in 2021, 2022, and 2023, right before ChatGPT came out, I would have to sit down and talk to the client. I would have to talk to other people who knew about the industry, and I would have to find great content topics and great content ideas. Now that's not the case. Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever it is, you can literally ask it to go find you those content ideas, and it'll be able to do that for you at scale. And then we have personal modification, which is the middle 40%. Now, I'm going to circle back to this when it comes to the content creation process. But as far as personal modification, this really comes down to taking AI content ideas and asking yourself, how can the AI content be more tailored to what I know? And how can I separate myself from other people who could do the same thing? I think one of the things that's not talked about when it comes to creating AI content in general is that if all you do is go from prompt to post, anybody else can do that. But if you go from prompt and then figure out how you make it tailored to you, that's gonna do a couple of things. For starters, it's gonna allow you to validate the content, right? Because if I just tell you, here's how to create cool content, it's one thing. But if I tell you, here's how to create cool content based off of what I've done over the last 6 years, there's validation there that not everybody can have when it comes to creating that content. And so whatever industry you're in, it's extremely important to add your expertise because it allows you to validate the content. On top of that, it allows you to have that personal touch. So if you're somebody who's just taking AI and then writing articles, well, over time, anybody can do that, and all of those articles will really get saturated in the market. But if throughout your articles, throughout your content, throughout whatever you're doing, you're able to add personal experiences and expertise to it, that's going to allow you to separate yourself, and that's going to allow people to see that you're really invested in the content creation process. Because one thing I've noticed recently is that there's a lot of people, when it comes to being an executive, they look at content on both ends of the spectrum. There are some people who understand that it's one of the best levers to move growth in a business, and it's the best way to create leverage. And then you have other people who say, I'm just going to hire some 18-year-old intern to do it, or I'm going to hire a family relative to do it, or I'm going to hire one VA to do it for $400 a month and they're going to handle it. And what I've told people when it comes to all of this is that you oftentimes hear a lot of people say social media moved the needle in my business, but for some reason people hear that and they don't think it will do the same for them. And I'm here to tell you that there's too many success stories in the market right now when it comes to social media and when it comes to creating content for all platforms for you not to invest the time and effort to make it effective. Now, with AI, you can invest less time and effort, but all in all, you do need to put some time into it in order for it to be personable and based off of your expertise, and in order for it to be original. And then the last 30% is content distribution, and this is really just getting it out on the platforms. A couple of things when it comes to this. I think that a lot of people think that it's cool to have their own infrastructure with what they're doing. I'm a firm believer of, instead of trying to create, let's say, an email newsletter where you have to get people to subscribe, the way I look at it is, if you're trying to get clients that have a longer sales cycle, if you're trying to get people to know about you who might just sit behind the scenes a little bit before they engage, you're better off creating content at scale on the platforms that are designed to curate content. So what do I mean by that? If you're somebody today who loves writing, right, I would not recommend that you write an email newsletter and try to get people on that email newsletter immediately if you're somebody who's trying to write in order to move the needle for your business. So if I break it down even more, if you're somebody, for example, who loves to write and you own a gym, right, you're better off getting your content out on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Substack, YouTube, wherever it is, than you are trying to get people on a newsletter. Now, somebody will say, well, you don't own any data when it comes to that. Yeah, but the fact of the matter is you can collect data on the back end once you start to really generate an audience. But all of these platforms are really good at getting people to the platform. And so from that perspective, if they are already going to get people to the platform, your goal is to be present versus trying to build your own infrastructure, which takes a lot more time. Same thing like when it comes to writing a book. I think that if you're somebody who's looking to publish a book and you're somebody who's looking to write a book, you're better off publishing it with Amazon, because Amazon already has traffic to their site and you can organically get people to buy your book and learn about you there than you are trying to self-publish it with hopes that a large investment is going to get you onto certain TV shows. So with that being said, I tell anybody, if you're going to really focus on content distribution, the first thing that you need to focus on is making sure that you're going to places that are designed to curate content versus trying to build the infrastructure out yourself. And so when we talk about this last 30%, I think AI can help you a lot with this. I think that AI can schedule your content, which a lot of platforms have shown it doesn't hurt reach like it used to. I think that when it comes to getting people out there or posting it, a lot of these platforms that help you create the content are really good at getting it out there. And you can use AI to help you with this, because whether AI writes the caption and posts or whether you write the caption and posts, it's not necessarily going to affect the content as a whole. And so I would tell you to, on this last 30% of the content creation process, I would tell you to heavily use AI in distribution. Now, if you see on the graphic, it says that the most analysis takes place in the 30 and the first 30 and the 40%. What I mean by that is That's really the process that's going to separate you, right? Like, you can't create bad content and then have great distribution and expect people to consume it. And so that's why the first 70% is really coming down to, what is my content saying? How am I applying my expertise? And what is the market asking for? Because at the end of the day, if you are somebody who is not focused on the product you're putting out in the market, it doesn't matter how fast it goes to market, or it doesn't matter where it goes to market, it's still not going to be consumed. And so that first 70% of the process is super important. But if you look at the math, you'll see that the 40% is more than half of the 70%. And I think it's because when it comes to creating content, a lot of people try to take the personal expertise or experience out of the situation. And that's something that really is the most valuable part. Like, if you're a CEO, if you're an executive of a company, if you're trying to raise money for a fund, if you're running a business, it doesn't matter what AI tells you people are asking about if you don't add your own spin, expertise, and experience to answer those questions. So if you're somebody, let's say, who owns a home service business and you own a plumbing company, yeah, AI can give you the questions to answer for your content ideas. But if you just go word for word with what AI wants you to answer, people will never know your expertise. People will never know who you are. And then over time, you'll just look like everybody else. It happens to business owners all the time. It happens to me as well, where I'll answer a question for somebody who's interested. Somebody else will answer a question. And when it comes down to it, when I get done answering the question, I'm like, man, I should have told him this. I should have told him this. I should have told him this. And I'm really thinking, I just sound like everybody else because of it. And so this 40% is really where I believe in the next 2 to 5 years is going to really determine who the thought leaders are. It's going to be the people who learn to use AI, but also learn to put their own expertise and experience on it. Because at the end of the day, that's really the ultimate separator. Because I always tell people that you can be in a career and accomplishing things for 10 years, and your first 6 months of content, you'll have better results than somebody who's creating content for 10 years, but only has 6 months of results. And so that 40% of the 30-40-30 process is so important, because at the end of the day, that's what makes you you, and that's what separates you from other people in your industry. So 30% content ideation, AI can do that. Last 30%, content distribution, AI can do that too. But that middle 40%, that personal modification, is ultimately what's going to make your content for your personal brand, for your business, and for any content you're trying to create to build leverage. That's ultimately what's going to make it different from the other people you're competing with in your industry. So check out this video, and I want you to write down what makes me different. That way, when you go to AI and it gives you the content ideas and you're writing, you're shooting videos, you're doing whatever it is, you factor that in. Because at the end of the day, your content should not just be something that focuses on views. It should be focused on making an impact and building leverage in whatever you're trying to do. Have a great day, and God bless.